I'm here today with Andrew Cassidy, Senior Director of Digital Strategy and Engagement for the MBTA in Boston and founder of Cassidy Consulting, but maybe more importantly, a brother of Phi Alpha Tau and an Emerson College graduate just like myself. Andrew, thanks for joining us. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about your professional background and how you've pursued excellence throughout your career.
Sure. So I've been working in one way or another in communications since around 2007. That's when I first started Cassidy Consulting, really getting started with, at the time, which was cutting edge Facebook pages for businesses, as well as doing some web design and the like. And the organization itself has grown over time. To include kind of like a full gamut of communications, whether it be marketing, public relations, crisis communications, whatever it is that comes up, we're there to meet those needs.
Yeah, what a great diverse background of experiences you have. Our dealers are always looking for new ways to engage their audiences. So tell me about the benefits of a digital marketing strategy and what the first steps are to planning, and what are some questions that they need to ask themselves before they start planning?
Sure. So these days it's hard to escape the need to have some sort of digital strategy, whether that's organic, unpaid, and just having a website where hopefully people can find you, to going a little bit more in depth in setting up search engine optimization, search engine marketing, paid social campaigns, video production, jumping on whatever the latest platform is. But by and large, the big questions that any organization really needs to ask itself is, what are they hoping to accomplish? Usually it's more sales, but again, for each industry, for each organization, that's the big question. And then the other big one is the one I tell everyone across, again, every single industry, which is to know your audience. Who is it that you're trying to speak to? Are you trying to reach the mom and pops? Are you trying to get more, national notoriety? What is it that works best for you and what you're trying to achieve? And then once you have that all ironed out, who you're trying to talk to and what it is you're trying to achieve, that's when you can start really, coming up with and developing that strategy for whatever success means for you.
Yeah, I think as a communications professional, one of my pet peeves is when you ask a client or someone who their audience is, and they say everyone.
Everyone, yep.
And that's never the case.
No, it is not. No, it is not.
Right.
Especially not everyone, everywhere, all the time.
Right, exactly. So for those who may have an established marketing strategy and understand kind of the first steps and have already established a plan, what are some ways they can make it even better? How do they take it to the next level?
I mean, I think there's a requirement to be honest with yourself. So even if your current marketing strategy is extraordinarily successful, there's always room for improvement. And it's trying to, even when you have a successful campaign, a successful what have you, really doing a deep dive and see where maybe something was lagging a little bit behind. There's also opportunities where just because you're here and doing well here doesn't mean you can't get to here by increasing your strategy and really expanding upon all of that. So I think that's probably a bigger piece that most people aren't necessarily paying attention to, is those opportunities that are new, that may be a little bit outside of someone's comfort zone, but there's kind of a whole new audience over there, a whole new subset of the population that's looking to do business.
Yeah, that's great. I'm always a fan of great synergy, and with our dealers, they have multiple locations, some in different states, some even cross regions. How do you align your messaging across your organization to ensure consistent messaging to all audiences?
Sure. I think it's important for every brand to have kind of a central brand guideline, central kind of communications strategy and approach across every individual location. So you have a kind of a look and feel. So case in point, when I was working in higher ed, I was working at the largest college in the country, 165,000 students, 8 different campuses, each in different locations. So they all had the same college brand. They all had to look and feel like the central college itself, but the campuses had a little bit of a unique flavor, different majors, different subsets of the population. So they were able to, again, still be true to the larger brand, but appreciate those nuances and kind of have that authenticity and that locality for what made sense for, again, their audience.
So how important is agility in these cases? So obviously you have an overall communication message, and then on a lower level, maybe individually for each location, to be able to adjust it to kind of the more local audience? How important is that flexibility?
It's important. I mean, there's a level of trust that you need to have with either your internal comms team, or if you're going third party with your consultant, with your agency, what have you. And it's extremely important because once you have that, then you're able to act a little bit more quickly, and you might be able to jump on more central trends and whatever is kind of the thing du jour to do at the time. That being said, it is good to kind of have a very centralized idea as to where you want to go, so you don't have one group going off and completely, again, dissociating themselves from what the core business is. But from there, I think, with a little bit of training wheels, you can get to a pretty happy spot.
Yeah, yeah, perfect. Tell me some ways as an external consultant how you could help our dealers, or someone like you could help our dealers, and how do they get in touch with you?
Sure. So if you're going to be working with any sort of third party agency or consultant, so if you're reaching out to me, you can obviously go to CassidyConsulting.com. There's a means for contacting us directly on the website. But beyond that, I mean, the big thing is you're starting a relationship. It takes time for any organization and agency to learn each other's brands, to learn what makes them unique. And then there's also a growing period. It's not an immediate result. It's not someone clicks a button and everything's magic. A lot of the times, and again, it depends on what kind of approach / package you're looking for. You can hire someone who handles it soup to nuts. They're taking the photos, they're publishing things, updating your website, what have you. Or which is also frequently the case, there is an existing internal comms team, and they really just need someone to come in there, show them the best practices, make suggestions, maybe handle the paid advertising piece, and then from there they can take that and run with it. So there's like I said, it's an ongoing process. The longer the relationship, the more fruitful it is, for sure. But there is a lot of opportunity, because it's always great to have a third party perspective on anything. Having that outside perspective is invaluable, especially when it's outside the industry. As scary as that can sound, when they're outside of the industry, they look at it, with very, very untouched eyes, and they're able to really offer some unique perspective. Where if you've been doing the same thing for a very long time and been successful, you might not realize how many low hanging fruit there are ready to be picked.
Yeah, so often I think if you're too close to a project or you've been on the inside for too long, it's so hard to see the bigger picture sometimes, or so hard to see kind of what the external audience may see. So I think as an external consultant, that's very important to kind of have that fresh set of eyes. Is there anything else that you wanted to share with our audience?
Sure. I think the biggest thing is, do an honest assessment of where things are, see what's working, because I'm sure there's stuff that's absolutely in place that's working, but also have an appreciation for the fact that there's probably a possibility things could be doing better, maybe more efficiently, maybe scaled to greater success. And that's where bringing on a consultant or an agency can really help you to get to that next level.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to throw you a curveball here because I know we
Sure.
did a pre-interview and I didn't mention this, but working for the MBTA,
Hmm.
obviously you are on the ground floor of a lot of crises. And
Absolutely.
so with the last 2+ years of a lot of organizations going through a lot of change, having to adapt, possibly having some crises of their own, what is the first step or maybe the most important rule to you in crisis management?
I'd say taking control of the crisis is probably the thing that jumps straight out at me. When a crisis happens, people are looking for information, and there's a bunch of people who are more than happy to fill the vacuum and provide information that may or not be true, and really can add gas to that fire. So the big thing is, acknowledging whatever crisis is going on, just saying that you're aware of it. You don't need to have your plan, immediately in your first statement. But it is important to establish yourselves as the conduit of truth, in making sure that you're addressing it. The other big thing is just transparency, keeping people involved in the process, so they're aware that that this is happening, that you're trying to fix things, how this might impact them. There are a lot of crises that end up turning into opportunities, and the big change in there is whether or not that opportunity is seized and whether or not that crisis is handled well. So if you are well poised for crisis and you're able to really overcome it, that you can come out rising like a phoenix in an entirely different stratosphere if you play your cards right.
Yeah, that's so well said. I tell everyone there are a few organizations where if you're working comms, there you could do it anywhere. And I think airlines is one of them,
Yeah,
right? And then I think MBTA might be another one of them. And so you're so well respected, especially in the space in Boston, especially among our colleagues up there. So thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate
absolutely.
it. CassidyConsulting.com. I think people can also find you on LinkedIn
Absolutely.
if
Feel
they
free to
wanted
reach out.
to.
Absolutely.
That's
Connect on LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever you are, I'll be.
awesome. Sounds great. Thanks again. And thanks everyone for joining us this month.